Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, how was your Christmas, man?
Decent.
Good.
I've got a couple more. It almost got canceled again due to weather. I almost had another set of grandparents be like, shit, we're in blizzard warnings, Andy. They closed down the interstate. I don't know if people know their South Dakota geography, but Rapid City is pretty much Wyoming. Like it's the last town of any consequence before you hit Wyoming. They closed down the interstate I-90, which a lot of people in the north know. It goes all the way from coast to coast for like 560 miles from Rapid City to Albert Lea. Yeah, because in the prairie, when it gets snow and then you get some wind, we just don't have the wind block for it not to be like whiteout conditions. And then you get truckers that, we got to meet our deadlines and deliver this. And then 72 car pile up outside of Brookings, something like that. So, But all's well that ends well. Got some good gifts. The kids got all that they could handle. We ate good. We enjoyed some wine, and we're back. And I don't want to get political to start this. So, because you can take this, and there's so many people that will want to take this and run with it. But remember when we wore masks for 2 years and then didn't go anywhere?
Yes, I do.
I think we're dealing with some of the unintended consequences of that now, because I don't get sick. I never used to get sick. Maybe once a winter I'd get a small cold.
Correct.
But I've been sick for a month. And I think it's because I gave my immune system a little bit of a breather and just said, hey, you hang out. We'll take care of this in different ways. And now I'm just constantly dying. I coughed so much on Saturday that it feels like I did 1,000,000 sit-ups. The best ab workout my abs are like sore. It feels like I just got the ab cruncher. But
I had the same sort of thing, but it wasn't from sickness. So this is another weird story. Sorry to
threw
derail
up so
this.
much that your abs hurt.
Yes, exactly.
There.
And here's the weird funny thing. So I went to the Bahamas middle of December.
Who drinks that Jägermeister? That's the weird thing.
I went to I went to the Bahamas middle of December. Mm-hmm. Well, I picked up some sort of ear infection from the pools there, and it got pretty bad. Right, that was why I missed last week. It got so bad that I got just absolutely like violent vertigo, to where if I was out of bed and standing up for more than 30 minutes, it was just nonstop throwing up.
I'm picturing you as Liza Minnelli right now, by the
way. I had literally, it was our vertigo. Our vertigo was, our nausea was intense. So basically I couldn't get out of bed for like 48 hours there until they put me on heavy duty antibiotics. And as soon as those started kicking in, I'm kind of a little bit back to normal. But I'm still wildly dizzy. I'm walking around like I'm 3 sheets to the wind all the time, basically. So still haven't gotten entirely returned to normalcy here, but it is what it is. NFL week 16 was freaking awesome, though. I don't remember a week like this in many years betting.
I liked the Saturday slate thing.
Dude.
So I know you couldn't get away with it because of college football, but like once college football, they should, and I know they have done this in years past. I don't remember them doing this where it was all the Saturday games and then just standalone. It feels like it was standalone games on Saturday and then a lighter slate on Sunday.
Yeah.
This was different. I love this. I loved all day Saturday football and then 3 standalone games on Sunday. And then obviously we get our Monday Nighter tonight, which we will be back for halftime, if anyone's wondering. Finally back for that as well. But yeah, and there were some shitty games, but it's funny. Even the shitty games in the end, it's like, this is going to come down to like this drive, I guess. Yeah. Or, at least for the spread or the total something. It was a lot of honestly entertaining football.
It was a lot of entertaining
football. There's only like 5 teams that are eliminated. I think that's part of it.
I mean, I think even watching the Rams absolutely destroy the Buccaneers was fun for a lot of people. That was and while last night's contest was probably the least entertaining, and it's kind of a bummer that happened on Christmas in primetime. There was still moments where it was fun to just pile on how bad the product was and how bad the Buccaneers offense was playing. That said, though, it is really rare to get to this point in the season where lines are tight, where everything's solved basically, and you're just kind of trying to grind out a little bit of an edge here or there. It is rare to get to this point in the season and put in a whole slew of bets just for, for degenerate purposes and see them just green. And that's the way it looks as I look back on this last week. It was so successful.
Well, any sort of long, my full-sized Wong teaser was Saints Niners, which was pretty easy in the long run. But I put in a bunch of other smaller teasers, and you could basically do no wrong with teasers this weekend.
No wrong.
And then I had a Vikings total to the over, which was looking dead. And then we have the late touchdown, the 2-point conversion that got home. That was nice. The Bears over was super easy. And the games I stayed away from, I felt like it all played out. And like, hey, this is the reason I didn't bet this goddamn game. This sort of thing could happen. But no, it was fun. I'm trying to think of a joke about somebody who crushed on Saturday and then gave it all back on Sunday because of the Wham song. Oh,
yes.
The very next day, he gave it away. That's kind of a banger. I don't know, but
yeah.
Let's
who didn't give it away on Sunday was the Green Bay Packers, baby. The Packers, and I'll hold your thoughts till we get to that game, but I can't objectively cover the Packers anymore. It's not possible for me to be objective about the Packers, so I'll let you tell me what you saw, and then I'm going to give you help because you're going to have to live through Aaron Rodgers making a Super Bowl run and everybody, getting off on Aaron Rodgers, and I'll be cheering for it.
I need you to know that they still do not control their own destiny.
That's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to change my rooting interest. Anyway, Thursday.
Well, no.
Thursday was not actually a very good game. Zach Wilson.
It was good for us.
It was great for us.
And honestly, the Jets were really, really, really awful. Kind of in every sense of the word, except maybe a little bit come red zone defense. Like they did put up a decent fight, forced the Jaguars to kick like 4 or 5 field goals. Looks like, Jacksonville was only 1 for 3 in the red zone, but the Jets ended up putting Strevler in at one point. This was
he looked more lively than this.
Honestly, he did kind of look lively. And truthfully, what this did set up is a very weird situation where the Jaguars and the Titans essentially have nothing to play for next week.
Yeah. This upcoming
and not only you can say, well, what about seeding? Like, no, there's no chance that either of them ends up as a wild card. Really, I mean, there is a chance you could get in as a wild card still, but it seems unlikely. And you're the 4th seed. You're not going to overtake the other seeds, the high seeds. So it makes those games weird. Like, do you? If something happens, obviously everything gets looked at under a microscope when it's in the past, but man, it looks really bad if Derrick Henry turns his ankle next week.
Sure.
But this game didn't mean anything. What are we doing? What are we running booby miles there for? Now he's hurt and the season's over, guys. But anything that happens this week, and Randy pointing out that they do have some wild card equity, so you have to play, but it's a very unique situation, and I'm glad we have a week 18 showdown, baby.
It's especially weird because you do the math and you're like, wait, the Jags can win, the Titans can lose, and the week 18 game is still doesn't matter. Like it's mind melting. How is that possible? But here we are. The Jags won. Okay, again, first two thoughts on this Jets game. Number one, the Jets got fucking hammered. Somebody bet that out to 2.5. That was one-way action for the Jets. Congratulations. If you had conviction and bet the Jets, I guess you got the market confirmation, but it was never even remotely correct, correct call. The true accuracy even says Jaguars were the right side there. The Jaguars did move into the long teaser zone though, and that kicked off what was one of the best weeks for long teasers of my lifetime. There was like six long legs, all 6-1. Jags season win total over his home. Jags.
I had a
AFC
little bit of that,
now.
and I mean, I was calling that dead.
Yeah. So 2 thoughts. Jags now for the AFC. The money line price that we're expecting for the week 18 matchup is basically the market price now for who wins the AFC South. That's correct. The Jags win though came at a cost. They lost Smoot, who was playing the best defense for them. He was the most significant performer for them on defense the last couple of weeks. He was just balling. That sucks that he's out with the Achilles, because if they were going to do anything in the playoffs, they needed him to kind of anchor a defense. As weird as it is to say, Dwayne Smoot was key to the Jaguars defense in the playoffs. Kind of key to their defense against the Titans, if we're being honest. And then they lose Cam Robinson as well for the season. So not great. The replacement tackle did well. So it's not like I'm super worried about Trevor Lawrence all of a sudden behind this O-line. The O-line's always been a little sus, but the defense does look like it could be exploited in the playoffs. So they're going to have to win with points from here on in, realistically, if they're going to do anything in the month of January. On Saturday, let's move to Saturday, where the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings were the first on the board. As you mentioned, you played the over, and that hit. It was a weird game. I just really, hat tip to the Giants for fighting. They looked like they were going to come away with the win. Justin Jefferson sews up Offensive Player of the Year. The Vikings do what the Vikings do, which is eke out these ugly-ass wins, don't cover. Sack Barkley put himself in the conversation for Comeback Player of the Year, considering the rest of the results. And he was awesome. Like his touchdown that put them ahead was like, he's back. Like, that was really, really impressive. And he's that type of player who's boom or bust, where he get him in space in the second level and see you later. So very, very cool story. And Giants need to beat the Colts next week to secure the 6th seed, which I think is possible, but who the hell knows with the Colts. Any other closing thoughts on Giants Vikings? Did you learn anything?
No, and I think you're probably right by passing up that Chris Carter season where he had 122 twice. I mean, it's not something that should be even remotely part of the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year, but I'm sure it creeps into their minds like, oh man, he just broke records by Randy Moss and Chris Carter in the same game, and it wasn't like week 18 where he had all this extra time to do it. Like he broke records over Hall of Fame wide receivers who are gods up there in Minnesota. He's probably going to get damn close to 2,000 if he has a couple nice last weeks.
Well, do you play him?
Got some secondaries he can do it against too.
If you're the Vikings, do you take your foot off the gas? Do you care about the 2 versus the 3 seed, and do you want to keep your players?
Said they do. I mean, there was a Kevin O'Connell quote basically saying, like, if you're the 2 seed, you can get yourself 2 home games at least. Like, I think they do care. They're going to go full pedal to the metal for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. They're not going to try to get a pseudo bye.
No, it's silly because I think, and I actually agree with it. Teams, you try to get too cute with this. We talk about this during the World Cup. Like, oh, would a team try to get second in their group to get on this side of the bracket? Like, there's just too many moving pieces for you to, do something like that. And I don't think the league would care for you sitting a bunch of players 2 weeks before the season ends. So
if I think the Vikings try or not, does it matter?
Yeah, I mean,
outcomes always all feel the same.
I really, it really doesn't matter for them. It's going to be a 1-score game at the end. Yeah, and Ryan's saying what I'm thinking. He's hoping they take off next week. Like, that's a kind of a nightmare matchup for Green Bay. And I know Green Bay should be a 3.5, 4 point. That's the correct number, but like,
not ideal. Yeah.
It's not the best matchup for Green Bay, but it's not the best matchup for the Minnesota secondary either. So
it's true.
That'll be a fun game.
All right, you mentioned New Orleans.
The Giants should have won. The Giants got
the Giants should have won.
Yeah, they were the better team that day. By the way,
if they don't make the playoffs for whatever reason, Yeah, if they don't make the playoffs for whatever reason, I think they're going to be kicking themselves over that game. They should have been able to figure out a way to get that done. New Orleans, Cleveland was, as you mentioned, one of the funnier total markets of the week. There was resistance. Somebody bought back at 31. Somebody said, that is too low. I'm going over. And that person was probably patting themselves on the back through the third quarter, Andy, because there were 27 points scored through 3 quarters of this game. But you know what? That is how we finished, with 27 points. And so this game went under even the low total of 32. There was never in doubt teasing New Orleans in this spot. And there was really, there are questions to be asked about why Cleveland was really realistically favored by 3. What have we seen from them to suggest that they are in any way, shape above average as a team?
I don't know. I railed on this last week. I said, once they started to get healthy, kind of in the early to mid part of the season, we saw the pass rush really come together.
Sure.
And we saw 3 or 4 individuals kind of flash at times on that pass rush. Not only the pass rush, but at times they were getting some tackles for losses.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of they were like the Trayvon Diggs of defenses. Like they were either, hey, this run blitz worked and you got to stop for -3, or hey, your safety is chasing down that running back now. Like they were kind of feast or famine on the run defense. It's been more feast for some of these opposing teams lately, but it was just not a spot I understood. I get that Andy Dalton's not good and they're missing some players, but I just haven't seen it from the Browns offense that they should have been a sizable favorite over that team that's probably their peer. And that's anyone who had that total that last quarter had to be excruciating. It was punt downs, end of game.
Yeah. Carolina was the market disrespected side. Detroit was bet here. They got up to 2.5, I think, at some spots, 1.5 at the sharp straps. I get it. I get it. Detroit, the way that they've been playing offensively, you'd have thought they had a decent shot here. I guess maybe the bigger surprise here is there were 60 points scored in this game. The Carolina, now twice in 3 games we've seen them do this, where they came in with a mentality that we are going to be super physical, we are going to push you off the line of scrimmage, and we are going to run the ball down your goddamn throat. And Deontay Foreman did it this time. You got to respect when you see it. If you can win games that way this time of year, no one wants to play you. And now here the Carolina Panthers said they did not get the benefit of the Bucs losing, even though it feels like someone else should win that NFC South, not Tampa. But they are still in the mix. They get a head-to-head versus Tampa to sweep the season series this week, and they feel like a dangerous team. Now, I think most of the autopsy here ought to be for Detroit. What happened to that defense? Hadn't they been playing better? Why did they backslide? You can't really pin any of this on Goff and being outdoors and the weather being bad, because he was kind of fine. Where were your takeaways of what happened with the Lions in the Honolulu Blue?
Just virtually nothing from the pass rush. I'm not sure. So how they count this stat is the ball has been thrown, but the quarterback, it's not a sack, but the quarterback takes a hit, which happens quite a bit in games.
Sure.
In fact, the Panthers had 7 quarterback hits to go along with 2 sacks. The Lions didn't have a sack, and the Lions did not even have a quarterback hit. They got no pressure up front, it also kind of resulted in whatever their defensive plan was not the right one that day for what Carolina was going to do. And Carolina was just kind of both sides of the ball in the trenches. Carolina just looked like they cared more. Yeah. Detroit just kind of came out sloppy, lazy, and they didn't look that good. I know it's a 500 team. Both these teams aren't very good, but when you give up 125 yards to a running back, and that was the second best running performance on that team of the day, that's not going to be good. And also, they didn't get their, again, like I said, this is such a cliche, and you see this in the comments, and people want to bring this up all the time, but it's true to a certain extent. Is games can be won in the trenches, and obviously the game state didn't allow them to do much on the running game, but they weren't running well from the get-go. Swift only got 4 carries. Williams didn't look that good. Goff was their leading rusher. They just got beat up both sides of the ball up front, and you ain't gonna win games like that.
Yeah, if you're conceding 7.4 yards per carry and gaining 2.6, you're having a long day.
Long damn day.
And that's basically the story of it. I completely agree with you. It just felt like the Panthers cared more, and Detroit was probably a little bit aghast. They left it all in the field multiple weeks in a row now to get that winning streak up to 6 games, and it was eventually going to come crashing down. Bad time for that to happen to them, though. Cincinnati, New England, another very weird game. This was like a back, what's a Freaky Friday backwards type of stuff. Like Cincinnati blasted out to a clean lead in the first half here, and then let New England back into it. Ultimately, a very, very untimely Ramondre Stevenson turnover in the red zone with a minute to play when the Patriots were driving to score the go-ahead touchdown there, ultimately sealed the deal for the Bengals. This felt like the Bengals winning this game felt a little Vikings-esque, right? Like it was like, I don't just think they deserve to win. I definitely don't think they deserve to cover, but they did. And,
I felt like I didn't watch much of the second half. Just time.
They figured the game was over.
Yeah, trying. Well, and also I had stuff to do on Saturday as well. We had to play Settlers of Catan to see who got to open the first gift.
Correct, yeah. As one does.
Spoiler alert. I beat the shit out of my kids at that. But
Dan, I'm sure, is going to clip that for the internet.
But no, I didn't get a chance to watch the second half, and I kind of took a look at the play-by-play. I'm not sure what happened. If it was some, we rag on the New England offense all the time.
Yeah.
But, there's probably something to be said for the New England defense. Like, we don't have a problem with what they've been doing. They have a bunch of good players. And, their first score was a pick six, which, God, again, nobody wants to hear about your fantasy team, Andy, but the Patriots defense and special teams have had a touchdown the last 2 weeks. That is pretty much getting me into the championship, fellas. But yeah, they get the pick six, and then it was a bunch of really good stops. It's kind of like, to a much lesser extent, everybody wanted to talk about what Cousins and Dalvin Cook and JJ did in that comeback, but that comeback is nowhere if that Vikings defense isn't just absolutely stonewalling the Colts for the better part of a half.
Yeah,
so
right.
I think they did a lot better, but so that's kind of on Taylor. You gotta make some sort of adjustment there.
Yeah, and what's funny is, I agree with you. The lack of adjustments in the second half of the Bengals was surprising. They took their foot off the gas, clearly. Burrow played well generally, but the 2 interceptions dinged any chance of stealing the MVP, I think.
Yeah.
It didn't stop it, but it dinged it. I will note that the funny part of this game was that Marcus Jones secured a defensive touchdown, which means he's now the second Patriot to get an offensive touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and a special teams touchdown in the same season. Second after, of course, the 2012 campaign of Mr. Julian Edelman. And which is a lie. Yeah, we went into when in the world did Julian Edelman score a defensive touchdown? If we saw people circulating this,
when would Julian? Because I didn't want to look it up at first. I wanted to think about it critically. I said, offensive players come out for
Hail Marys,
onside kicks,
not
yes. Defense.
Yeah,
they come out for Hail Marys, but he's like 5'9". I'm not so sure I actually want to put him out there. No. Counterproductive. So maybe one of these where they're going to do the
pitchy woo woo, yeah.
Which, my God, the Patriots have some experience with that recently. But you tell it. I don't think this is a defensive play.
I thought, man, was Belichick being squirrely? Like, you remember when they had all those cornerbacks get injured, and then they put Troy Brown in playing cornerback. Obviously, the wide receiver and Patriot Ring of Honor, Troy Brown, played secondary for them one season. I was like, well, did they do the same thing with Edelman? Because I sure don't remember that. And so I looked it up, and Julian Edelman is credited with the defensive touchdown, fumble recovery touchdown in 2012. And you look at his game log, there was only one game where he had a fumble recovery touchdown, and it was the Thanksgiving game where people, of course, remember the Patriots beating the Jets beating their skulls in. And that game got away from the Jets because of a very famous play where Mark Sanchez butt fumbled, and the Patriots picked up the fumble and returned it. The fumble was not returned by Julian Edelman. The butt fumble was not returned. However, the ensuing kickoff, Joe McKnight fumbled, and Julian Edelman recovered that fumble, returned it 22 yards for a touchdown. So technically, it was a special teams defensive play, not a true defensive play. So you're calling, you want the record book rewritten and Marcus Jones to stand alone as the only Patriot who's gotten an offensive, a defensive, and a special teams touchdown.
He's had a hell of a year, and I hope to God they get a couple more defensive touchdowns next year. What's
next week?
Next week. What's next game?
Yeah. Okay. Moving down to the Buffalo Bills versus the Chicago Bears, and again, this was one-sided, lopsided comp. The low total went flying over. 48 points scored here. Could have been more. Buffalo did, however, I think take Josh Allen a little bit out of the race for MVP with his performance here, because he did have the two interceptions.
Both of his picks were so fucking stupid. Like they were.
It's like classic Josh Allen. For
he looked like somebody else who's in his division.
He did. He looked like Stinky Tua. But yeah, I mean, Allen's still like, he's such a transcendent player that he overcame those two turnovers easily. Fields did not have a great day. There was really a lot of solid defense by the Buffalo squad, I suppose. But Buffalo, 35 points, made it look easy. Even though they lost the fumble too, so they lost three turnovers here. It didn't matter. They still boat raced the Bears. Good for the Bears' future. They need to keep losing. Did Buffalo clinch the AFC East this week? I think the win clinched it, right? I believe. I don't think they clinched last week against the Dolphins, but don't hold me to that. I think they clinched this week by winning.
I feel like Ben's giving us a thumb up there.
Yeah, they may have clinched when the Jets lost on Thursday Night Football. I don't remember, but whatever the case is, Buffalo clinched. They are now going to have a home game, maybe multiple home games. At least one. They're going to have at least one home game. But
I feel like
until the second week.
I feel like beating the Bengals next week would lock up the 1 seed.
It would, yeah. Well, no, they need to win.
No, the Chiefs have the. I thought the Chiefs.
They have equal records right now. They have equal records, and the only reason they have the head-to-head win. That's why they're. Yeah. And I think, we all think the Chiefs are going to continue to win. I don't have any other takes about the game. In fact, I didn't watch a single snap of that game. Houston, Tennessee, I also avoided for pretty obvious reasons. This one closed Tennessee -3, even though Malik Willis was your starting quarterback. Houston was flirting with being the spoiler 2 weeks in a row, almost beating the Cowboys, almost beating the Chiefs. They finally get a second win in the win column, taking down the Tennessee Titans. One more win for Houston, and all of a sudden the Bears have the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're beating. Maybe the Colts week 18? That's not out of the realm of possibility. Houston could take themselves out of the 1 seed here. I think you have a very sincere sit down with Mr. Lovie Smith and you say, if you want to be even retained in any capacity, we better not win a third game this season, buddy. But I don't know. What's your read on the vibe check with this Texans team?
They're not quitting. Obviously, we talked about this last week when I said, like, players don't quit, teams quit. I'm surprised. I guess I wasn't super surprised to see it be a close game, but for them to win this was something. That's embarrassing. A home game like that.
Yeah.
Lose to a 1-win team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've been playing. And that's the part I'll forgive. Is like, you're starting a rookie quarterback. He is not looking great, by the way.
No, he does not look like the. A lot of rookies, by the time you get to the end of the first year, it's slowing down a little bit. It's not slowing down for Malik Willis. He had under 100 yards passing and 2 picks.
He looked very bad. So,
yes,
if anything were to happen to Derrick Henry, even if he were banged up next week, you might as well not even show up for week 18, guys.
Yeah, we agree.
Because Willis is rough right now, and on the other side of it, the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is playing really well right now.
I know, but the other weird thing is, like, for pricing that week 18 game, we don't know if it's going to be Willis or Tannehill. Tannehill went under the knife, and they're not ruling him out. somehow.
Yeah, I saw that. I feel like he's out.
I would think so, but
I
couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. I feel like there was some sort of weird caveat where they're saying he's not done for the season, but he's done. Seattle got their skulls
I thought it
kicked
was
in
more of
by the
a.
Chiefs.
I thought it was more of, hey, he might play in the AFC title game kind of thing.
Oh, if they get to the Super
Yeah,
Bowl,
like, hey,
Tannehill will
because
be back.
we're in the playoff chase, he might play.
Okay. So Seahawks got their skulls crashed by the Kansas City Chiefs. This was over, I guess, at halftime when it was 17-3. Seahawks offense continues to regress hellaciously. Ken Walker had 100 yards rushing, but it didn't matter. Geno Smith was extremely inefficient in this game. Pat Mahomes did Pat Mahomes stuff. That Pat Mahomes Travis Kelce connection is just, it's unfair at times. Kelce had a 52-yarder in this game. And I guess he was your standout performer because otherwise Mahomes' stat line was just kind of meh. I mean, Chiefs defense looks like they're playing a little bit better. I don't know. Any other takeaways here?
Yeah, they got after Geno quite a bit. They sacked him a couple times.
Yeah, he got sacked twice.
Yeah, my takeaway here, and I want to do a bit of a thought exercise. Because he was a very, very good college coach, had a lot of success. And we dogged on him, and I think a lot of the dogging on him was maybe should have been pointed towards the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, sure.
Even though he was not a guy who was very aggressive. He didn't catch up to that like some of the league did as fast. And granted, he's an old man, but just watching Russell Wilson week in and week out. And then I know they've taken some steps back, and a lot of that is the defense. They just don't have the roster. The Seahawks very much overperformed.
Yeah.
Are we low on Pete Carroll? Like, as far as a career?
I mean, I think we are very
putting together that defense for those years, couple of playoff Super Bowl runs, and then Russell Wilson looks like he's absolutely broken now.
Yeah. There's Russell Wilson's broken because the game changed and he couldn't adapt.
Yeah.
I think our conclusion is square there. The Pete Carroll, we're sober-eyed, which is that he is still just an unbelievable ability to, get his guys up on game day and play. Like, his guys play for him. They love him. He's got a great personal relationship with a lot of his players, and he is able to really take raw defensive talent and turn it into really solid players. And they were largely a defense that was based on rookie contributions and some young players taking meaningful steps forward. And some of those guys got hurt. Some of those guys hit the rookie wall. Some of it was quality of quarterback that they were facing. And as soon as that got tougher, they started, the cracks started to show. But no, we know who Pete Carroll is. He can coach up young talent, and he can, get his guys to play hard. He is not a visionary offensive mind. He is a
I think, and that's what I think. So many people look at the head coach and they think about game day and what they do on game day and what they do in those big decisions. But a head coach is a CEO, and a good head coach who works closely with the front office and does good self-reflection and knows, like, hey, I'm not good at this part.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm super. There's head coaches, I think, who trust the scouts a lot more than they trust themselves, because like, I'm not traveling and watching these college kids all the time.
No.
I know I'm the boss, but I have to defer to you on some of this stuff. I think that's where a good head coach knows what they're good at and what they're not good at. Maybe I'm being too.
He definitely had an axe to grind this year. He wanted to do better than Russ did in Denver. Clearly, I think he cared a lot this season.
Maybe rejuvenated him a little.
He made himself a little bit more aggressive in the going forward on fourth down as well. Like, he used to be a guy that was an absolute chicken shit when it came to fourth down, punting, kicking decision making. He's totally updated that thinking. From what I can tell, looking at the numbers, he went for it on 6 fourth downs in this game, converted 3 of those 6. He needed to, because they were playing from a deficit for almost the whole game, but didn't matter. Didn't win, didn't cover. Chiefs continued to just pad their resume on the way in. But you know what? If the Bills don't stumble, the Chiefs winning all these games doesn't really matter. Their win equity is stuck in this 2 seed where they are potentially going to have to play 3 very, very tough playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. So there is no reason to run and get involved with the Chiefs in the market, in the futures market at all, unless it looks like unless you have some realistic expectation that the Bills are going to lose one of their final 2 games. So I have no Chiefs at all. I'm completely ass exposed to the Chiefs right now. Let's talk about Atlanta-Baltimore. Baltimore
This was a
got bet.
game, wasn't it?
Atlanta got bet big time in this one. Crosses 7, closes 6.5, and I mean, it was an 8-point final, but it felt like Baltimore could have won by 20 if they wanted to.
So I think the handicap for betting them across the 7 or getting a good, you felt like you got a good number across. It was Tyler Huntley probably isn't very good.
Yeah, sure.
But you kind of have to reckon that with the fact and the scales of justice are balancing out with, like, Desmond Ridder also is not he's not good yet. I think he actually has some potential. You see flashes from him, but like the offense around him is not set up to let him succeed right now. And the Falcons just can't move the ball at times. So
yeah,
I wanted no part of that. Like, I don't know if I can justify, hey, you should lay a bunch of points with Huntley, even against this offense. I'm not sure there was like a super right side in this.
You know what was funny? So Baltimore was 6.5 at the close, and I believe San Francisco was 6.5, 6-ish, right? Depending on where you were looking, right? Baltimore and San Francisco, there was a bust on the teaser pricing for those 2 legs. Yeah. Like if you tease them both to a half, then and you kind of just absorb the win the probability of a tie.
Yeah.
Then you got a much, much better teaser leg between those 2 than a money line parlay. So Baltimore and San Francisco ended up in my round robin teasing, and those legs both came home. Baltimore was never really close. The reason to tease Baltimore in that spot was obvious, which was Desmond Ridder was on the road against a defense that, has a capable secondary that can only be beat by speed and can only be beat by, multiple threats in the wide receiving room. And Atlanta has none of that. None of it.
17-9, Drew.
Yeah.
How many red zone possessions were there combined?
1, 2,
8.
2. What? Really? I watched none of this game. There were 8 red zone possessions.
So I did watch some of this game. Yeah, there was a lot of field goals. Like
what?
It was a lot of bend but no break. And the thing is too.
Oh my god!
It's not like there were. I don't know. Like I'm trying to look at what the total yardage was. So they both had about 300 yards.
Basically 300
pop. It wasn't great, but I mean, the teams moved the balls between like the 30s ish, and then it got real hairy from there. It was a bad game to watch, especially if you like the Falcons, if you bet on the Falcons, got to help you. But I didn't have any action on this, so
yeah, the Ravens are they are mega sus, but hey, if they can take care of business.
I was cheering for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, I was cheering for the Falcons.
Right. I wanted for the betting purposes. For betting purposes, right. For betting purposes, I needed the Ravens to win, but if the Falcons had found a way to get a win here, then I would have felt a lot better because
that would have locked that up essentially.
The Bengals are not playing very good football right now, and they have 2 really, really tough tests back to back coming up that might flip this division back to the Ravens. I want your opinion on 2 things, Ravens wise. Are we going to see Lamar Jackson again this regular season? And are they a bet to win the AFC North right now?
I think they're a bet to win the AFC North because of the and I think yes. I honestly think he might be back as soon as this week. Which
who are they playing? Are they playing Steelers? Yeah.
Steelers. That's a winnable game either way, maybe, but
it's a tough one.
I do think he's back, and just because I have a decent sized position on Bengals 3-1, I'm just gonna buy out of my position.
Just cover your stake.
Just cover my stake.
Or split your equity.
Yeah, split the equity a little because it is a tough schedule for the Bengals down the stretch here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the Bengals have gotten us to this point, which is huge, and I appreciate that.
It might just come down to that game, which is in Cincinnati. Ravens Bengals on the 8th, which is also, I believe, the FCS championship. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, 2 teams that hate each other.
Okay.
So, yeah.
San Francisco, Washington, not a lot to say. The San Francisco defense kind of got pushed around here weirdly, but it didn't matter because Washington offered relatively little resistance, and Taylor Heineke did his thing where he did a bunch of turnover-worthy plays, but because he was up against because he was up against a more capable defense in terms of takeaways, they lose the turnover battle 2-1.
Kittle averaged 20 yards a catch.
He was on
one. It was very difficult.
Boys.
Yeah, it was very difficult for them to catch him. I love
the last time Kittle looked this good though was our Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I'm worried about our Sirianni Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I think
Shanahan is super live for that.
Yeah.
I always love it when the leading rusher has 1 carry. As Ray McClure. That was a great play though. I mean, the Ray play was good.
Yeah. Shanahan gets a comfortable win and cover with the Brock Purdy for the 3rd straight game. Brock Purdy, a little birdie who's very, very good at Ward's markets, has been pushing me on Purdy's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Here's my question.
It's not enough games, is it?
Not enough games. Okay.
It just never happened.
Here's the awards conversation in a nutshell, Andy. The way it's trending right now, Bosa is going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey's live for Comeback Player of the Year, even though he wasn't very good in this game. Shanahan's live for Coach of the Year, and Purdy is live for Offensive Rookie of the Year, right?
I don't think he is. It's just not enough games.
There's no, the idea of coming out of the awards where 4 are going to Niners is kind of insane to me. Like, I feel like right now, Bosa winning the Defensive Player of the Year, and just in general, the concept that the Niners defense is the best in the NFL, and that's why they're where they are in the standings, is that like their award for the season is the Defensive Player of the Year. And then we move on, right? So, and because if Sirianni doesn't get Coach of the Year right now, the Eagles get shut out of the awards. And for them to have been sort of the standout team for so much of the season and get shut out of the awards would be pretty wild. It's live though, and I don't love it. Don't love it. But the Niners could be sort of the bad guys.
I think the Eagles just take care of business the last 2 weeks. It goes Sirianni, Mahomes, with a slight possibility of one of the other 2 quarterbacks. If one of the 2 quarterbacks in the Bills Cincy game just goes scorched earth on the other, and I mean it would have to be 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 350, maybe a big run or 2, a game-winning drive, something along like if they really put it up on each other, they can get back in the conversation if Mahomes has a ho-hum week. But it's probably just Sirianni, Mahomes, Wilson, Bosa, Justin Jefferson, and
Sauce,
and Tariq Woolen. And George Karlaftis. Yeah, it's probably Sauce.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry, man. I had to go answer a text. Okay.
All right, where are we at now?
The Dallas game. Dallas, very, very.
This was a fun game.
It was fun. And Dallas was very, very lucky to win and cover. And I think a lot of people who had a lot of really plus EV bets, real deal plus EV bets based on, some of the early news about Jalen Hurts not playing, can thank the football gods for doing them a solid, because Dallas's defense did everything everything except for concede that final touchdown. And it felt like the Eagles, if they wanted to score 40, could have. It took 40 points to win this game. Dallas, I don't know really where you want to go here, other than like the main takeaways are Philly tried hard. They almost got it. Dallas's defense has to be downgraded. They sucked. It might have been because of the illnesses, but it might just be that they're just
illnesses and injuries. But yeah, the defense is nowhere near where they were at the beginning of the season. And I mean, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith basically got whatever they wanted. Miles Sanders, okay day, but they were mostly passing. Gardner had 40 attempts. Gardner Minshew looked pretty decent at times. I know he made some mistakes, but yeah, it's a defense that can be had. This is not like this is definitely a situation where, let's say they end up in a spot like this where they, everyone's like, oh, Minnesota's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. Like, not if they play Dallas. Like, that's just who gets to 40 first.
Yeah, who gets the ball?
Like, that's a dream matchup for the Vikes if they drop to like the 3 seed. I still think they'll end up with playing Detroit, Washington, Green Bay, whoever.
Dallas's road right now would be Tampa and then likely Minnesota. That I'm saying that because I think the Packers get in at the 7 and beat the Niners. And then the Niners would go to Eagles. Dallas is a coaching mistake away from losing every game they're in. They're getting boat raced out of every game they're in. A positive possibility. This is a very tenuous situation there. And they're ultimately, I don't think realistically they can win the NFC. Winning 3 games on the road with the way that defense is playing right now, it's not happening. Mike McCarthy made some decisions at the end of the game that I was just apoplectic. If you could have seen me screaming when they elected to kick that field goal to go from 3-6.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why don't people understand this? What was going on there? The idea that you force your opponent to be aggressive because they are down 6, but giving them they would have had 145, a timeout, ball on the 25-yard line, and you're telling them they must go for it on every 4th down. And your defense, by the way, hasn't made them punt all game. This is the idea of just kind of putting it in the hands of your defense and praying, as opposed to going and just getting that touchdown, putting the game away.
That's a good on my top. Everyone does lists at the end of the year. I'm going to do a list of cliches from the old white quarterback announcer who hates analytics.
Yeah,
I'm not going to just call it the Troy Aikman list because there's a couple other ones, but I mean it's like, yeah, man, you just gotta trust your defense in this spot, right? I don't understand why they're getting aggressive here. You kick this field goal, you take the points. That's on the list.
Take the points. Yeah.
Take the points. Trust your defense. Oh my God, this is gonna be good. But
that was the most egregious
maddening.
Take the points that I can remember, considering the game state.
Truthfully, landing on the 6 was better than a 3 for me in the long run.
Same.
But I was very sure it was going to land on a -1 instead of the 6.
Yes,
in what world did they stop them? I'm like, well, this is done now. This is over.
It's over. Yeah, they just lost the game. Yeah.
So, but good ending also, for anyone who found those medals.
But the other, speaking of the endings,
I've lost every other bet I made the weekend and come on ahead.
Dak
Dallas game.
Yeah, exactly. Dak going out of bounds at the 201. What was that, Dak? What are we doing, buddy? Dak then getting sacked on the 2nd down when this 2-minute warning is going to stop the clock regardless. Throw it away, buddy. What are we doing? The awareness, the clock. Yeah, what was the situational awareness at the end of the game? You know what it reminded me of, Andy? The Niners loss, where they don't even get a chance to throw the Hail Mary to try to win. It was that sort of situational failure. They just ran out of time. Yeah, it was that sort of stuff. And Mike McCarthy, I mean, he just happens to be there looking like a doofus. And so it's not helping him. But what are we doing, man? Do your damn job. It was rough.
Just do my Mike McCarthy impression. So it's just gaping. He's
and it's looking up at the board. What just happened? Wait,
I don't know what the score is.
Yeah, what? Wait, how many seconds are left? How many timeouts do they have?
That's true. Oh God, the timeouts. Let's not start on that.
My God. Oh my God.
But overall, from a neutral standpoint, or if you're just a fan of football, what a game.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, Vegas, not such a game. Although in the end, the touchdown to win by 3. And again, another Wong teaser leg comes home in no doubt at all for the Vegas Raiders. Wong teaser leg there.
Don't fade a team on Franco Harris tonight, I guess. It looks really, and it's another one too where it's the Raiders looked like an okay team, and then I don't know if they're taking Quaaludes at halftime or what. It's just why is this happening to this team? And again, I didn't have $1 on this game. I didn't end up putting this in my teasers.
Mm-hmm.
I was baffled baffled at what the Raiders are putting together for the second half.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't score. I'll tell you that much.
Derek Carr was inefficient. 3 picks here for him. Is he now your interceptions leader?
He is. You could have bet that at 11-1 before the game. Ask me how I know. Luke,
I think
Vegas
I know how you know.
Yeah, Vegas Refund talked to me. I just some small bets. I bet all the quarterbacks who had 11 interceptions.
Yeah.
How many did Davis Mills have? He only had the one, which is good.
I think he only had one, yeah. Let's move to Sunday, Andy. Nothing noteworthy happened in the early game. Packers took care of business. You want to move on to the Nick? Do you
think the Packers actually looked good?
No, no.
So
no, the Packers were very, very lucky to win this.
They were
game.
lucky. Yeah. The biggest takeaway from that game was the quote that's basically Mike McDaniel telling us Tua's brain does not react well to him doing bad.
Yes.
And it can spiral out of control.
Yes.
Which
Tua coaster.
And then if you look back at the game, you're like, oh, that actually happened. Like he progressively got worse throughout the game and started making like pressing and he's like the guy who's I'm going to win it back on this hand and he bets twice as much on blackjack.
It was real life tilt. Yeah,
it was real life tilt. And then the fact that McDaniel confirmed that that's a thing and that happens, we got to maintain that. You can't have that in your quarterback. You're fucked. Like he might think about this is not your long-term solution down there now.
The Packers went into
every one of
halftime.
those interceptions was so it wasn't just like because we say he threw 2 picks and then we go back and look like you know what the receiver should have caught that or like that was just an amazing job by the defender to wrestle that ball away or to maneuver his way in front of the receiver. No, they were all just horrible horseshit throws. It
literally was one where like you see it was to the point where the fourth quarter of the game you see the ball start to flutter out of his hand and you just are expecting 3 Packers just camped out and somebody's
like the only way this isn't a pick is if they all hit each other.
If they all hit each other, exactly. It was crazy. It was crazy. I will say this. At halftime of this game, when it was 20-13, I was like, oh my God, the Packers are extremely lucky to even be in this. Like they are going to get run off the field in the second half here because their soft ass defense was giving up whatever they wanted to the mighty passing attack of the Dolphins at the time. And Aaron Rodgers had some brain dead moments where it looked like he just was like, where am I? What am I doing here? Like it was weird. And then it was a tale of 2 halves because the second half comes out and the Packers all of a sudden like Rodgers is like now like peak Lamar, like can't be sacked in the pocket. They can't get him down. He's just like completely untackleable. He was hitting everything. I mean, everybody was contributing now. Lazard and Watson and Dubs, everybody was helping. And they go and score. They had some red zone futility, but they moved the ball super effectively in the second half. But the defense was there for the taking, and Tua couldn't take it.
No, he was truly horrid. It was stinky to
that was something.
The middle game.
Yeah.
The middle game cost us a coach. I think that was one. And I've said this. Yes, I've said this time and time again. I said I think there's a decent chance we don't see another coach fired until Black Monday. Because, just all the situations are kind of lined up where it's a lot of first-year coaches or teams that aren't going to be rash about it because they have no reason to. But I think if you get a 50 burger put up on you by a guy that's been with the team for like 2 weeks and has stunk to the point where he's played on 3 different teams while he's still in his rookie contract, really. Yeah, we can go ahead and fire your coach. That's fine. Yeah. If you can't get anything out of this offense, and you give up that 50 burger, Broncos unders, those are not a thing anymore. By the way.
Well, you can't blame the Broncos defense for calling it a season.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I didn't see it coming in this game. Thankfully, I didn't have anything better on this game, but they waved the white flag finally. Broncos offense was was obviously very frustrated in this one too. Everybody's at their breaking point there. Hackett's gone. That's correct. I don't know where you go forward here. Who do you pair with Russ? How do you repair Russ? I don't think it's possible necessarily. But that was a poor experiment to try to get Nathaniel Hackett to be a thing. Rams, and congratulations if you hadn't started Tyler Higbee and Cam Akers on your fantasy football teams.
Yeah, it was on Nickelodeon, man. I wonder if those kids are like.
This is our first. This is our first fatality on Nickelodeon. Yeah. First ever fatality, death by slime for Nathaniel Hackett. The Nickelodeon stuff I thought was going to be silly and funny just because the game was so shit, but it was like pretty stupid. So
I forgot about it. I didn't watch it on Nickelodeon. I was kind of mad until after the game that I realized
the Patrick the Starfish doing the play-by-play on one of the Russell Wilson picks was pretty
interceptions.
Funny.
That's a microcosm of his season.
Yeah, Matthew Link brings up the real controversy of the game, which was that Nickelodeon only gave you 5 Rams to choose for MVP. So Russell Wilson could not be voted the MVP.
We've seen what Big Cat has been doing.
Yeah, this is the scandal of our time. I can't believe they cooked the books and wouldn't let us vote Russell. It ended up going to Baker Mayfield, who got slimed also in real life. They actually poured physical slime on him, which was weird. But that's where we're at with Nickmas, I guess. I feel like I got physically slimed watching the Tampa Bay game. The fuck is wrong with them?
I spent some time with my family during this one.
Good work, man. Well done, Dad.
It's another one too where Tampa should be the better team. I know we're down on them, but you go 1 for 3 in the red zone. They turned the ball over twice.
Yeah.
Still won the turnover battle. 1 for 3 in the red zone. 6 for 17 on third down. And really only outgained the Cardinals by about 70 yards. That 70 yards, Andy. That was the final drive. Yeah,
and it was all Russell Gage, and it was all no huddle.
You play Trace McSorley, and you have to go to overtime. It's not a good indicator that you're going to turn it around for the playoffs.
Trace McSorley was bad.
Yes,
he was bad. That was miserable. I don't think you can count on the Bucs catching anything here. They're going to lose their first playoff game. And it looks like Brady doesn't really want to be there anymore. I think he's probably checked out a little bit.
Do you think he's going to try one more team, or is he done?
Yeah, I think so. Sounds like it.
I think he's going to go to another team.
Yeah, but I think he's done with Tampa Bay. And I think
he still has it. I think he hates the coaching staff at this point.
How can you blame him? The scheme is miserable. It's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. Any thoughts on Monday Night Football? You got any thoughts on me? Do you see what's happening?
Me naming my puppy Lenny and then Fournette becoming good again?
He's not good, Andy.
He was their leading rusher and receiver.
That doesn't matter.
He had 9 catches for 90 yards. Again, I don't have him in fantasy, but
he's playing through a list rank apparently.
Baby.
How about that?
Well, yeah. Guess what? My foot hurts. It's because you're really fat. Lenny, you're putting stress on that foot.
Seriously, man.
Yeah, those are correlated.
I'm not sure if you saw this, Andy, but Big Dick Nickmas is a thing. He's getting bet today. We're looking at 3.5s across the board, pretty much, except for Bookmaker on the Chargers. You bet this one, or are you steering clear of the Big Dick Nick experience?
Steering clear of Chargers games, and also Foles. I do believe Foles can play well here, but his quote was kind of troubling. He basically came out and said, I haven't had any time with the first team.
I've been doing scouting. He's been doing
in the league for 10 years. He's not a rookie. He's gonna pick it up fine, but it might be a scaled back offense. And this is not what you need versus a defense that you can kind of get after here.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
It's still a defense that has some weaknesses. I think that gets neutralized a little by having to scale back the game plan a little.
So is there a way we can bet a scout team skill position player who Foles has really good chemistry with to like really be the guy this game, right? Like he doesn't target Pittman. He doesn't target who are the other guys? He doesn't target Pierce. He goes for like a lot
this
of
is all right. I'm calling it
Ashton Doolin.
We're gonna that was the name I was going to. It's gonna be Ashton Doolin scores 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
got to be a big number.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even know if Ashton Doolin plays on the scout team. I assume he might get some reps.
By the way, here I was looking. I wanted to touch on comeback player of the year quick because you brought it up in the chat with me earlier. Yeah. And again, not the most predictive thing at the odds, but Saquon, Geno are pretty much co-favorites with Christian McCaffrey not far behind them. Bovada lists 6 players in this market. I've named 3 of them. Who are the other 3? Saquon, Geno, Christian McCaffrey. There are 3 other players named. Chat, if you don't cheat, feel free to join in here.
I got some. Goff.
Yep.
Nick Gates.
Yes. I didn't think you were going to get me cheated.
Well, Spreadopedia asked everyone to pick Nick Gates up, but I think you bet that everywhere.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The Gates one is, and Gates did like break his goddamn leg right away last year.
He actually is coming back from a horrific injury.
Yeah, right? Like he is, because it's the joke that Spreadopedia again makes the joke. It's like, what is Geno coming back from? Sucking ass?
Yeah.
I think it was fair.
Yes.
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry makes less sense than Nick Gates.
Yeah, he does.
He got hurt, but came back during the season.
Yeah, he's already come back. Yeah, that's already over. All right. Well, I wouldn't guess that. All right.
The Nick Gates thing is cracking me up. You can have my.
Do you have any look aheads you want to really point to? Because I'm probably taking it extremely light this week.
No, I think there are a couple interesting lines, though. Just touch on again. Hey, the Packers are still a low, under 50% likely to even make the playoffs, and the Vikings have 12 wins. Yeah, the Vikings ain't that good though. Yeah. So they're going to head to Lambeau and they're going to be 3.5 point dogs.
You think that moves off 3?
There's been some Vikings money.
Okay.
I think Vikings are playable at 3.5 because all they do is win close games, guys.
Yeah. Can't really argue.
And it is a bad matchup for the Green Bay secondary.
Looks like Mike White's going for the Jets. That's moved up to 2.5 for them because of that news. I agree with that.
Yep. I could play the Jets here, honestly.
Here's some of the ones that stood out to me on the open. I was surprised that the Giants. Well, we don't really know what the Giants numbers are. We're just gonna skip that for now. The Dolphins are only -1 against the Patriots team that they've kind of owned. That's surprising to me. I feel like this is. There's a decent chance that Miami does bounce finally in this.
Tua resets his brain and he beats them handily.
Yes, exactly. He gets taken some kid gloves for him this week. Tampa Bay was that's down to 3. That opened 5.5. Did you see that? That did not make sense to me. The 5.5 was like who did this? What are you?
Not only that, but it's Carolina's getting money in the market every week.
Every week,
incentivize it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were fine taking it at that price.
That's Bet Online crossed the 2.5 there, which now we're talking. That's about a fair price for me. Total down to 39.
Bears Lions under 52. Do you dare? Indoors, probably not. They're starting to set those a little too high again.
Yeah,
like the Bears 52. Got their ass beat on defense, but that was a good team.
God, that's tempting, man.
That's a pretty high total right now.
How did Kansas City get this cupcake schedule? How did Kansas City get this schedule?
Well, we didn't think the Denver Broncos were going to be horrible.
Wow. I'm inclined to bet Pittsburgh in Baltimore. You want to talk me out of that at all? I think they match up well against the Ravens.
If you get a cheap +3, I get it.
I think there's a 3. You can get a 3. I think once we get confirmation if Lamar goes, I guess if Lamar goes and I can get more than 3, I will definitely taking it. If it's Hundley, do you think this
defense, especially against the run, has been playing amazing? And it's not like the Ravens have this wealth of wide receivers.
No.
Pittsburgh, it's a really good matchup even on the road for Pittsburgh. I agree with you on that. I might add that to the card.
Okay, well let's figure out what the hell's going on with Lamar.
And then
New Orleans, should New Orleans be catching 7?
So everything incentivizes them to win this game. Obviously, the Eagles.
Yeah,
because they could lock everything up. They could push a team who they own their pick down.
Mm-hmm.
But does it incentivize them to win by 8 or more? I don't know. And they just had some pretty bad injury luck on both sides of the ball now. Going to be missing Johnson, and then was it Devontae Maddox for a couple of games?
Those guys are both huge contributors.
Hurts. The news was always Hurts is going to push to start, especially if they lose to the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that doesn't mean much.
The more details that come out, this is like a 3-4 week thing.
The more you talk about it, the more it feels like you're like, it's a thing that's gonna take a couple weeks to suss this out. So if it's Minshew,
it comes off 7.
Downgrade. Yeah, it comes off 7 for sure.
Okay. 2 last questions for you. Or one observation. I saw San Francisco open up at a 6. I thought that was too high. It's come off a 6. It's 5. I don't think Brock Purdy's really, the guy that you're really dying to lay 6 with on the road. Monitoring that line for sure, even though I hate the Raiders. Early thoughts on Buffalo Cincy matchup wise.
Price is right.
Yeah.
Total's right. Like I was pissed about that. Yeah, it's not a teaser I love because of the higher total and what I saw from the Bengals in the second half, combined with what I saw from the Bills in the second half. Like, obviously, it's a much worse team, but those second halves couldn't have been much more different. This could be like, hey, my teaser's in good shape. It's 10-10 at halftime, and that could get out of hand.
Okay. We got to do some injury research on some of the Cincinnati defensive players. If Cincinnati is taking a fully healthy defense into this game, then I am teasing the ever-loving shit out of the Bengals here because this is like team with the ball last three-point kind of game either way. I do worry that Buffalo's or Josh Allen's propensity to turn the ball over against the Cincy defense that has some ball hawks is a potential problem.
It's true.
I want to believe in the Bills, but I feel like they're going to dink their way out of the 1 seed and out of the playoff mix, which is sad for me, but that's okay. All right, no other real thoughts here. It's kind of an ugly slate, actually. This is kind of a gross week, weirdly.
Well, we'll have some more thoughts come Wednesday. We'll make some bets. We'll have some action. It's going to take a little more time, and I'd like to catch up a little more with injuries tomorrow and the next day.
Okay. All right, man. Good plan. We'll talk then, and I'll see you for primetime.
Are you going to be in the same room when you see it tonight?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's probably going to look different, though, because it'll be after sunset, so it'll be dark behind me.
I appreciate the awkwardness of that ending.
Well, I thought you were flying in between. Are you not flying till tomorrow?
Driving to Savannah and then flying.
Oh, yeah, you got to go Thursday.